We are looking at Chapter 7 of our textbook in interpersonal communication. So far, we've seen the nature of listening, the challenge of listening, and now third, we get to the components of listening. The first one is hearing. Hearing is more of a physiological thing. It's the physiological aspect of listening. And of course, it's vital to listening because it's the starting point of the process. And it can be diminished by physiological disorders, hearing loss, background noise, or even if you just have auditory fatigue, you're tired. Attending is the second component of listening, whereas hearing is more of a physical thing. Attending is more psychological. We are inundated with messages from both social and mass media, and so we can't attend to all of those sources at the same time. So we choose to attend to messages when there's a payoff, when there's some advantage for us in doing so. Sometimes it's maybe because we want to advance the relationship with the person that we are speaking with. Skillful communicators attend both to the speaker's words as well as their nonverbal cues, what they are saying nonverbally. Some people, however, are just inattentive to nonverbal cues. Others suffer actually from a physiological syndrome called nonverbal learning disorder. And people with this disorder have trouble making sense of nonverbal cues. If you look at the dark side of communication in the textbook, it talks about the myth of multitasking. And we often think that we can multitask and that it's an effective and efficient way to communicate. However, studies show that media multitasking has a negative effect on both learning and remembering. So, research provides clear evidence that mobile media use is distracting, with consequences for safety if you're driving, 2, efficiency, and 3, learning. They say that the relationship between mobile devices and distraction is so strong that the mere presence of a cell phone can disrupt your listening, according to one study. The sight of a mobile device, of your cell phone, reminds you that you're missing out on something. You're missing out on that broader social community. So they recommend putting your phone out of sight when not using it. So we've looked at hearing, we've looked at attending, and now we get to the third part of it, and that is understanding. Understanding is attaching meaning to the message itself. In order to understand, of course, first you need to be aware of the rules and both grammar rules and syntax rules. In terms of syntax, meaning word order, you must be familiar with the speaker's vocabulary and jargon. And another important factor is that you should know something about the message source, knowing something about their background. For example, you can tell whether a friend's remark is an insulting one or a joke or a serious attack. Even the context of the message helps you understand what's being said. So if I yawn and it's late at night, that has one meaning. If I yawn when I'm speaking with you and it's midday, it might be taken in a different way. The ideal in interpersonal listening is both to understand and to be understood. So the textbook coins the term listening fidelity. And that is the degree of convergence between what a listener understands and what the message sender was intending to communicate. What is sent is what is understood. The next aspect is remembering. The ability to recall information once it's understood. And of course, this is a function of several factors. The number of times the information is heard or repeated, the amount of information that's given at one time or received at one time, and whether presenting the information can be rehearsed. Of course, this is going to vary from individual to individual, and of course, it varies depending on the importance of the information being recalled. Forgetting information can cause relational problems, and people feel slighted when you forget something that they've told you. responding. This is the final part of it. And this part is when you give observable feedback. So people generally appreciate listeners who respond by asking questions or paraphrasing what is being said. And that supportive nonverbal cues like eye contact, nodding, smiling, gesturing, leaning forward certainly helps the person who's speaking and indicates that you are listening. The next segment will deal with types of listening responses.